عليه وسلم البيعان بالخيار ما لم فإن صدقا وبينا وبورك لهما في بيعهما وإن كتما وكذبا محقت بركة بيعهما ما لم يتفرقا أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات. Hadith number 6 in the chapter of Sidq. This hadith is narrated by Hakim bin Hizam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. First time this hadith narrator has been mentioned, so we briefly go through the profile and the biography of this Sahabi. Inshallah, this will bring us the understanding of who the Sahabas, the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam were, and also will attach us to the Seerat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hakim bin Hizam radiyallahu ta'ala an, his name is Hakim, the father's name is Hizam, and the grandfather's name is Khuwaylid. Hizam was the brother of Khadija radiyallahu ta'ala anha. So Khadija bint Khuwaylid, the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this makes Hakim radiyallahu ta'ala anhu the paternal nephew of Hazrat Khadija radiyallahu ta'ala anha. And we all know the story of the elephant Abraha. This incident took place around 1 year before the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hakim radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was born around 12 years before this incident. Born around 12 years before the incident of the Abraha. So when Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born, by that time Hakim radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was around the age of 13. And the very fortunate Sahabi Hakim radiallahu ta'ala anhu is. Now Hakim radiallahu ta'ala anhu's grandfather Khuwaylid and the grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam Abdul Muttalib, they were very close and had very good friendship, and as they were leader of their tribes, they were in contact and also consultation, and many matters took place between them. So Khuwaylid, the grandfather, from his children known as Awam, he was married to Safiya bint Abdul Muttalib. Safiya bint Abdul Muttalib. So now this brings the relationship through marriage to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Hakim bin Hizam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Khuwaylid passed away many years before. There was a battle of Fijar in the days of Jahiliyyah, in the days of ignorance. He passed away around that time. And the father Hizam, meaning the Hakim radiyallahu ta'ala, our narrator, his father Hizam, he also passed away before Islam came. Before Islam came, the father and the grandfather both had passed away before Islam. Now, the construction of the Kaaba in that time, the Quraysh had made it such that the door of the Kaaba was slightly raised, and only the elites and the leaders, they had access to inside the Kaaba. So even at that time, as we see now as well, the access into inside the Kaaba, the door is slightly raised. And even now, the only certain individuals and elites are given access to inside the Kaaba. So in their time as well, in Hakim radhiyallahu anhu's time as well, that's how he was. So the mother, Hakim, the mother of Hakim radhiyallahu ta'ala an, she had come to visit the Kaaba itself and had entered the Kaaba with other few women. And she was expecting. Inside the Kaaba, she went into labor, and it wasn't easy for them to take her out of the Kaaba. Therefore, the women that were present inside the Kaaba with her help her to deliver. There was an animal mat made out of the animal skin that was put there, and that's where Hakim radiallahu ta'ala anhu was born. So from amongst the Sahaba, there's a sort of narration about Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu, but who has actually narrated it. There's a whole discussion on that. Is it fabricated, not fabricated? Is it from Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah? Is it from other groups? That's a different subject. But for sure that we know from all of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu, the only Sahabi that was born inside the Kaaba was Hazrat Hakim bin Hizam radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So it is very fortunate that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that was an indication towards his piety and towards his honor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to bestow and give him. So he is related to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. He's also related to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through Safiya binte Abdul Muttalib radiallahu ta'ala anha also. So there's a relationship in this manner. So they were growing up a similar time. So there was a very good friendship with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Hakim bin Hizam radiallahu ta'ala anha. Hakim bin Hizam, the word Hakim comes from the word hikmat, wisdom. And he was very wise from young age. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had gifted him with this. Now in the days of Jahiliyyah, Darun Nadwa was like the White House, where all the matters will be discussed, and only after a certain age and after certain qualities you possess, you are allowed to be in this home, in this place, in this building, in order to consult and discuss matters. Generally, the age was around the age of 40 and above. The age of 40 and above. However, Hakim radiallahu ta'ala anhu was so talented and intelligent that even at the age of 15 was given permission to enter into this home and be part of the discussion that would take place. So this was the word Hakim and the word Hikmah, that from a young age was very talented, very opinionated and very intelligent and very wise. That from young age Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him that understanding, and that he was given the ability and the option of being part of this. So Hakim radiallahu ta'ala anhu, one was this quality. Another quality that he had was, this is all before Islam had come in and before Islam, accepting Islam himself, that he was very talented in trading and business. So constantly he would be traveling from Makkah al-Mukarramah to Yemen to Syria, and he can understand the sort of journey that they would have to undertake, months and months. So much time of his life was spent en route, on path, going from one place to another to another. He was constantly traveling around. So you can imagine how many journeys that he would make from Makkah al-Mukarramah to Yemen to Syria and all of these places. Now, because he was very occupied with trading in his life, there was no concern about what to do or not to do, what to believe or not to believe, to worship the idols or not worship the idols, and all of this wasn't his concern, because he was too busy in his world. He was too busy in trading. Nowadays it happens as well that many youngsters and many people are just too occupied in their business and working 9 hours, 10 hours a day, and they wake up, thought about it on the time of waking up is work. They come back and work and work and work, and that's all he was. So he was constantly busy with this. You can imagine how many journeys that he would have made, how many trips that he would make, that even though Islam had come and he was present in Makkah al-Mukarramah to hear what was going on. So there was no concern. So he didn't accept Islam. He wasn't, going against Islam. He wasn't an enemy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he was just too busy in his trading. So that's why most of his time was spent. However, there were time where the Sha'b Abi Talib took place, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with his family and the Sahaba were boycotted between the Valley of Abu Talib. At that time, he had a bit of concern because Khadija radiallahu anha, now she was the khala, she was the aunt of Hakim radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And at that time, one thing they did have was family kinship. They would always be concerned about that. So even though he was no concern about religion at all, but because Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, even though she didn't need to be with this part of this boycott, but because of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she remained there. So because of the being the aunt and like his own mother, because she took care of Khadija, Hakim radiallahu ta'ala anha a lot. So because of this family kinship, he took concern when the boycott had happened. So what he would do is that he would secretly deliver food. He would secretly deliver, he would take the animals and put stock on there, and in the darkness of the night especially, he would go and deliver secretly food to Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha was obviously the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and very generous, very generous. Now remember Khuwaylid, the grandfather, going back again, the one thing that he had was he was very filthy rich, very rich. So you can understand the inheritance, the amount of wealth that they would have inherited, and amongst them was Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, where she used that wealth in her business, and she became one of the richest women as well. So in this Sha'ib Abi Talib, in the boycott, Hakim radiallahu ta'ala anhu would deliver food to Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. Now Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha would take the food, and instead of thinking about herself, she would think about the rest of everybody else, whoever was present in that boycott, and she would distribute the wealth and she would distribute the food to those who were present at that time. So this was the quality of Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, and also the quality of Hakim bin Hizam radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And also, he remained a bit far away from any battles or any arguments. It comes in that he's never ever raised a finger or sword against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He never raised against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the battle of Badr, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam even said that it seems like there are some individuals who are being forced to be part of this battle from the enemies. From the enemies, it seems like there are some who are forced to be in this battle. For example, Hazrat Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at that time, he was also amongst the enemies at that time, and he was forced to be part of this group. And Hakim radiallahu ta'ala anhu, also he didn't want to fight, but because he was being forced, he had also been there, he had to be there as well at that time. So Hakim radiallahu ta'ala anhu now is living in Makkatul Mukarramah. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had migrated. Now Hakim radiallahu ta'ala anhu, one quality we mentioned was very intelligent. Number two, very good in trade. And number three, one quality that he possessed was very generous and charitable. Very charitable, very generous. He was known. And he was also a very close friend of Hazrat Uthman bin Affan radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who was known as the leader of those who are generous. So you can imagine the quality he was influenced by. So he was very generous. Even after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated to Madinatul Munawwara. And at that time, Hakim radiallahu ta'ala hadn't accepted Islam. He hadn't accepted Islam. So one of the time he bought a nice royal suit from Yemen when he went to trading, and he came to Madinatul Munawwara and he offered it as a gift to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, sorry, I can't accept this. Obviously, because of the circumstances, Hakim radiallahu ta'ala wasn't any bribing or nothing like that at all. But Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked at the circumstances and he said, no, sorry, I can't take this as a gift from you. However, if you want, I can purchase this suit from you. So in the beginning, Hakim radiallahu ta'ala didn't accept this, and then later on realized that I'm not going to get this to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam except in this way. So then he sold that the suit that he had, and he was very quality and expensive suit. That once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was on the mimbar, he was wearing this suit, and the Sahaba radiallahu tajma'in looked at the beauty of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was already there. Without increasing the beauty of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and when Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam realized that the Sahabas are looking at this, later on he gifted it to one of the Sahabi. So this was the friendship that they had. Even though he didn't believe in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wasn't an enemy, but that friendship was there, and he was very generous as Sahabi radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in. And now at the time of conquest of Makkatul Mukarramah, at the time of Fath Makkah, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he came to Makkatul Mukarramah, one of the things that he mentioned was that there are 4 individuals here who it seems like they are trapped by shirk, whereas they don't need to have that in them. They should take the shirk out of them. And Prophet ﷺ mentioned 4 names. And from those 4 names were Hakim bin Hizam radiallahu ta'ala anhu, because Prophet ﷺ knew him from young age. And he knew the quality that he possessed, how good nature that he had. There was no retaliation and there was no enmity, nothing at all. He was a very kind, generous, person. So Prophet ﷺ, all these years after that, he says in the time of Fatih Makkah, that these 4 individuals, among them was Hakim bin Hizam radiallahu ta'ala anhu, it seems like that, the shirk that's inside them shouldn't be there. That shouldn't be there, i.e. they should have brought Islam by now. And Prophet ﷺ also mentioned about at the time of Fath Makkah Mukarramah, that man dakhala dara Abi Sufyan. Prophet ﷺ took names about 4 or 5 individuals, and he said that whosoever enters the home of Abu Sufyan, he is going to be safe. Whoever enters in the home of Hakim bin Hizam radiallahu ta'ala anhu, at this time he hadn't accepted Islam yet. So whoever enters in his home, and one reason why, because he had a very good big home as well. So Prophet ﷺ said, whosoever enters into his home as well, he is safe. He is safe. So Prophet ﷺ treated him at that time as well with kindness and with mercy as well. After this, at that time, when this Prophet ﷺ finally took control of Makkah al-Mukarramah, that's when he accepted Islam. That's when he accepted Islam. So he accepted Islam on the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the time of Fath Makkah. However, he said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, what about all of those things I did before? All of the good deeds I had done before. I was generous, I was kind and merciful, and all of these things before. So Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that, Aslamta ala ma salafa laka min khairin. All the good that you have done has sort of led you to embrace Islam. All the good that you have done has led you to embrace Islam. Meaning, naturally you were very, pious in one aspect. You were already had the good qualities that you possess. Because of these qualities that you did possess and all the good deeds that you have done, that itself has inclined you and took you towards Islam. You include towards Islam. Now, if you remember, as I mentioned, he didn't hate Islam. He didn't hate Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But because he was so occupied in his trade and traveling and his businesses, he wasn't thoughtful about any religion. Obviously, time came when he thought about the Islam, and especially at the time of Makkah al-Mukarramah, seeing the good akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that led him to accept Islam. So this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is trying to say, that you see some people that they don't have iman, they don't have belief, but they're very, good nature, they have good qualities, they have good deeds, they have good actions. And at times, that is the thing that leads them into the fold of Islam. So this was Hakim radiallahu ta'ala anhu. There are many other points mentioned regarding him. However, Hakim bin Hizam radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was the one fortunate Sahabi who was born inside the Kaaba, and also is one of the fortunate Sahabi who lived the longest as well. He lived the longest. Total, he lived for 120 years. Total lived for 120 years. He died in Madinatul Munawwara. So he's born in Kaaba, passes away in Madinatul Munawwara, and buried in Jannatul Baqi. And he says that he brought Islam in Fath Makkah at the age of around 60. So he spent 60 years in Jahiliyyah and 60 years in Islam. And he mentions that he freed around 100 slaves and gave around 100 camels in charity before Islam. So he said that, look, I want to do what I've already done in the last 60 years. I want to do them again as a Muslim. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made that possible, that after he accepted Islam, he made it possible that he freed about 100 slaves. And at the same time of freeing these slaves, it comes in one narration, that he also gifted them with gold necklaces. He didn't just free them, he also gave some wealth with that as well, made out of gold. And at this, he also sacrificed 100 camels after accepting Islam. He was one of the richest Sahabi in Madinatul Munawwara, as the other Sahabas also mentioned. So Hakim bin Hizam radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he lived for around 120 years, 60 years in Jahiliyyah, 60 years in Islam. And as we learn from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when you are generous, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts barakah in your life, and He puts barakah in your wealth. And this could be the reason why he lived for that many years, that he was able to carry out all of these good deeds, because of his quality of being generous before in the Jahiliyyah days as well. Hakim bin Hizam radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he accepted Islam, at that time his wife accepted Islam, and those children that were with him, they all accepted Islam at the time of Fath Makkah. Now one of his son by the name of Hisham, he narrates that when Hakim radiallahu ta'ala anhu was passing away, he was saying, La ilaha illallah, qad kuntu akhshaka wa anna al-yawm arjuka la ilaha illallah. That, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I have hope in you today. I have hope in you today. And this is the way he was leaving this world, and these were the last words he uttered before leaving this world, and passed away in Madinatul Munawwara in the time of I think Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he buried in Jannatul Baqi. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant abundance of reward to Hadith Hakim radiallahu ta'ala anhu and all the other Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala majma'in, the sacrifices they gave for the deen, is unimaginable and parallelly can't compare to that at all. But through their sacrifice, through their hijrat and nusrat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it possible that deen spread all around the world. The hadith that he narrates is about business. The hadith that we're going to read, inshallah, in our next dars, he narrates about business. That when you do a business and you're truthful in your business, Allah puts barakat in there. But when you hide and when you lie, that's taken away. And we know that through trading, through the good akhlaq and character, how Sahaba radiallahu tajma'in went around and Islam spread. Indonesia, in Africa, so many other countries around the world, Islam spread through the akhlaq of the Sahaba radiallahu ajma'in, through the hijrat and nusrat. Alhamdulillah, we also have this, a copy of this as well, where we are, also in the same sort of path where we do hijrat and nusrat. And inshallah, through this, only Allah knows where the hidayat is, spreading. We cannot become hopeless that I'm doing so much and nothing is happening and nothing is going on. But harkat is here and harkat is here and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is changing something somewhere else. As we see in the 13 lives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Makkatul Mukarramah, so much effort was done, but only a handful of people accepted Islam. And you see all that at the same time, the people of Madinatul Munawwara accepted Islam. And when he comes to Sulh Hudaybiyah, you see the efforts of this fruit of his efforts. Therefore, we should also attach ourselves to this harkat that we have of hijrat and nusrat, and also the tazkiyah and also ta'aleem, darul ulum and etc. All of these are the branches of our efforts of our deen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all those who are doing the correct work of deen and bring unity within them, and also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept them and make it means of hidayat of us for the future generations, and also bring the means of peace and unity within the Muslim Ummah. Allahumma ameen. Subhanallah bihamdi. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati ma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin bi rahmatika ya Rabb.